for offerings. So, under the Old Testament, yeah, we see that. The $100 question is tithe part of the New Testament church? 10% giving. Okay, now this is the one that scriptures, the churches use often to kind of make that a rule to it. And so I want to read that, Malachi 3:8-10.
Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. Ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it.
So people will say, if you don't tithe, you won't receive God's blessing.
Yeah.
Now, the question, I was taught that, and I believed it, and I did it for many years at church I was going to, different churches I went to. But then I realized someone said, well, who is this written to? Does anybody know? Let's turn to Malachi 1, verse 6. It says, the son honoreth his father, and the servant his master. And then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Saith the Lord of hosts. Unto you, O priest, that despise my name, and you say, wherein have we despised thy name? So we see the book of Malachi was written to the priests. And the problem they were having is they were taking they weren't taking they were required to do the purest of all animals, clean animals. They weren't doing that. And they were actually taking some of those offering or stuff that came in and keeping it for themselves. So they were disobeying God's commandment of the sacrifice. So the whole book of Malachi is really written to the priesthood, that they were disobeying God through that. And this is another one we hear too, 2 Corinthians 9:6-7. So I want to read that.
But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give not grudgingly,
Yeah.
or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver.
Amen. So the New Testament kind of changes that philosophy. It doesn't, the law was fulfilled by Christ, but here it's telling you, we believe in giving. We can't have the lights on and heat this place without a financial, giving from people. But can you be a tither and be a grumpy giver? It says, give all your heart. Purpose in your own heart what that amounts to be. The biggest thing I heard when I was at the church I was going in Milwaukee was, well, do you tithe on your gross or your net? If you're doing a gross, which is your total income before taxes, you suppose you got blessed that much more. And if you gave net after it was, the deductions and all this stuff, you got a lesser blessing. God doesn't say that anywhere in the Word of God. So my philosophy on the tithing has changed. Now I believe in giving. And you have the purpose in your heart, decide what you are, because God loves a cheerful giver. You look at the woman that gave 2 mites. That was all she had. That wasn't a lot of money, and Jesus even used that to turn it and say, you guys, you give out of your abundance. This woman gave out of her need, of what all she had. So the rule of that is not a New Testament. It doesn't follow the truth of the New Testament. And there's more, we can study more on that stuff, but I think we've kind of that point across. Anybody disagree with that? Doug? Okay, helping others. 2 Thessalonians 3:10 through 11.
For even when we were with you this week commanded you that if any would not work, neither should you eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies.
Mm-hmm. So that'd be a terrible accusation in our world today, huh? There's so many people that are used to getting stuff without work. Now, there are some times when people can't work, and we understand that, It doesn't, the way our system has gone, it's almost penalizing if, a married couple to have kids and if the wife goes to work, because childcare is just, sometimes it's not even worth going to work, right?
Yeah.
The way it's gotten so expensive, so, but hopefully the husband can afford that. 1 Timothy 5:3 through 8.
Honor widows that are widows indeed, but if any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to show piety and to invite their parents, for that is a good and acceptable before God. Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate, trusteth in God, and continueth in supplications and prayers night and day, but she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. And these things give in charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and specifically for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than a infidel.
Okay, so the church does have a responsibility, the body of Christ, to help those, it says, widows indeed. But if the widow had somebody else in the family, it's supposed to be, it was always someone else's responsibility, a kid's responsibilities, or a brother, or, take responsibility of the widow and help them financially. But when, the church, the problem with the welfare and all that stuff, tell about the 19th century, the church took care of the needy. When people were in need, they had needs.
Pantries and stuff.
Well, they fed them, took care of them, housed them, and stuff like that. But then when the government started stepping in, and the church says, okay, man, you were leaving us all this burden to help these people, and they took it with open arms. And the problem is when the government takes over something, they'll screw it up eventually. And when you got 40, yeah, sometimes it doesn't take too long, does it? Now you have 42 million people that get SNAP benefits. It's like, it's just bizarre. 1 Timothy 5:17 says, let the elders that rule well become worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. So it's not wrong that an elder could be a pastor or leader in the church. But we see there's instances in the Word of God, like Paul. Paul didn't take any money from his labor to preach the gospel. So nobody here takes any money at this time. But it's not wrong for a pastor to get paid. But sometimes they,
Like Smiley Boy, you want his salary?
yeah. Oh yeah, I'll take his salary. But sometimes it goes to extreme. It's not that they shouldn't live above what the people of the church are living. Is that, but they have to work. So, financial planning. Proverbs 3-6.
You're up here.
Yep. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
Now, it's good for us to have a financial plan, but we still are trusting in God. God provides us work, and he gives us work, and it's a good thing for a man to do that. In Luke 2029 talks about how important is the plan.
For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he had sufficient to finish it? Lest haply after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him.
Yeah, so when you build a house, you have a plan, and you have to have the finances arranged beforehand before you build a house. Now there's if you study the Azusa Street revival, it's actually started in Topeka, Kansas, and they started at a building that was called Stone's Folly. And the reason it was called Stone's Folly is because this man who built this place, he started out very elaborate. The first floor was marble and all kind of fancy pillars, but then he started running out of money. So then it comes to the second floor, it's cheap plywood and cheap paneling and stuff like that. So because he didn't plan completely for that building of that house, so they call it Stone's Folly of that.
Second Peter
Mhm.
5-7. And beside this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity.
Charity, amen. Charity is another form of giving to other people. And the last one,
The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Psalm 37:7, rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. For not thyself, because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass.
so it's not wrong to have riches, but if they use it properly and they don't, again, the love of money is the root of all evil. Money isn't the root of evil, the love of it. If it, just like the man who tore down his barns, built more and more because he wanted more and more to himself. Now, we're going to look at debt. Types of debt: personal, corporate, and national. We kind of looked at the personal debt already, but we're seeing in our country that something is really going crazy. Yeah. And you can look at it. Healthcare costs each American $5,267. Now, a lot of stuff is old. Now, I have some updated versions as we go on here. The Janesville Gazette, July 14, 2005, as of January 1st, 2013, it rose to 8,233. By the end of 2013, it was 9,810. Does anybody know what happened around that time?
In 2013?
Yeah. That's when Obamacare took effect. The
Oh.
American
Yeah,
Affordable Care Act. That is just the opposite. It is not. Employees' health care for 2016 is forecast to rise another 6 points. Forecast to rise another 6.5% according to Forbes. Obamacare will see double-digit increases in individual planning, and it's not only doubled. It has gone up 4 times from what it was before that. Now, this is an old article. It's from USA Today, October 4th, 2004. So the average household's personal debt was $84,454. I want to see it has gone up significantly since then. But when they do a lot of these forecasts or all these, when they come up with all these terms and say, well, this is how much debt you have, they don't include future debt. They don't include Social Security. They don't include Medicare costs into these debts.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2004, it was already $473,456 was the average household share of the government's debt.
Wow.
Pretty bad, isn't it?
Interesting.
Today amounts to $546,668. You know, that's the long-term future, because, you know, so the only budget for the next year. We don't budget for, you know, we're seeing that with Obamacare now, with the, you know, the 2026, all those subsidies end. And that's why they're clamoring and crying and saying, we need to do something, because they knew it was gonna go up.
The healthcare system got paid off me this year.
Oh, they probably have, amen. So here's the difference now. Healthcare costs each American $32,066 for a family of 4. You know, and granted, a lot of that's covered under insurance and stuff like that, but insurance companies have to pay for that too. So that's why your premiums are going.
Yeah.
The average personal debt is $105,056. That's the average person. And that's going up now. Now, if you're talking about 50-year mortgages, you know, people are going to end up paying $1 million in interest by the time they're done with that mortgage on there. Personal debt has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Total mortgage debt is $13.7 trillion, with the average home is like $287,000. I think is the average home now.
Pretty close to 300,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can, that's just
Know
for
that, right?
that's just for a 2-3 bedroom house.
Yeah, $286,060 is the average
Yeah, depends on the area.
Yeah.
price of a home nowadays.
Dane County, there's not.
Oh, you can't touch for that.
There's
Oh,
no.
Yeah, you're talking $500,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dane County's
And that could be on your, just a simple 1-bedroom house.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, nothing fancy, you know.
You're
it's-
right.
area of Dane County is probably still.
No,
But
I
even
don't know.
that's
Stone's
pretty
building
pricey.
up.
Yeah, only building up.
Yeah.
Credit card debt also, and credit cards and car loans, you said they're talking about car loans up to how many years?
10,
Well, it's up
Oh,
to
they're-
10 years, right?
No, they said 15.
15 or
15?
yeah, you get a 10-year no.
Yeah, Trump was pushing, 15.
wow.
Yeah,
What,
So
you want,
then-
you want us to be in debt for the rest of our lives?
Yeah.
and just-
pretty much.
Because then
Yeah.
you're just gonna pay all that.
Yeah, well, if you get a 50-year mortgage, and you're in your early 20s, you're talking 70s before you got it paid off.
Think about that, a 50-year mortgage, right, and
Yeah.
even at 2%, look how much you pay in interest
Oh,
on
the
that.
Yeah.
interest is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Making banks rich. We spend 18.1% of our income, after-tax income, just on debt. Wow, the debt has grown. Someone can read that.
The rise in the cost of living has outpaced income growth over the past 12 years, while median household income has grown since 2003 of 1.8 trillion to 4.9 trillion in 2024. Household expenses have outpaced it significantly, with medical costs growing by 150% and food and beverage prices increasing by 85% in the same span.
Yeah, and everybody that goes grocery shopping knows how much it's gone up.
Thanks,
You
Bob.
know, and the percentage they tell you of, how much inflation is a lie. Because they don't include food cost in those costs. Because they say food is too, it's too erratic, we don't want, we'll take it out of there. But, most of I've seen some stuff coming down now, but it's all doubled since, before Biden was in there.
Double, it almost triple.
Some stuff's
Some
running.
stuff is
Well,
triple.
and they say beef is, really going up again because the supply is so low and, demand is high again, so,
Since they're trying to, kill off the regular farmers to get this lead.
A lot of it, yeah.
crap.
yeah, well, they want, I can't wait to have a hamburger made in the lab.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
Lord
thank you.
help us. Kill me now.
I'll grab water.
Yeah, we'll go back and get our cows.
So we're gonna read that.
Psychology of debt. Consumers vastly underestimate or underreport how much debt they have. In fact, as of
Yeah, no, it's because, they don't understand, not, credit cards now, you're talking 30%.
Oh, that's
You,
ridiculous.
you don't realize that that's every month
Yeah.
that goes on there, so, or and I've done it too, where you bought stuff saying, I get a year free interest, and, year goes by, and you go,
You don't
"Oop,
have it."
I don't have it,
Well,
yeah.
the only good thing about like the 50-year mortgage thing is like it'd be a good way to get a mortgage payment very cheap.
But that's the idea, to get it a little cheaper, yeah.
But the key to actually saving yourself money on that is to pay that loan off as quickly as
Yeah.
possible.
And refinance when the rates drop.
Yeah,
That's
we,
what
we started out with a 30-year, and then we went to
Yeah,
a 15.
Yep.
After a few years, and the payments didn't increase because the interest rate just has dropped significantly during the first time. The cost of debt, the average household is paying a total of an estimated $649,067 in interest fees over their lifetime. And that's not just mortgages, that's your credit cards interest, that's your interest on your vehicles and stuff like that. So, you almost gotta make a couple $1 million to survive in this economy the way it is now. Corporate debt, that's even worse. Someone read that.
Between 1995 and 1999, outstanding debt of non-financial corporations grew 46%. As of 2014, the total was $375.5 billion, according to Business Insider. 2015 was forecast to have corporate defaults rise 2.7%.
And it has gone up quite a bit this last couple of years. National debt, this is the big one. National debt as of November is $35.96 trillion. When I originally did this study, it was almost 20 years ago, it was $9 trillion. So it has gone up that much in just those several years. And we, in both political parties, Republicans and Democrats love to spend money that they don't have. Now, if you ever want to go have fun, go to this www.brilliant.com debt clock, and it gives you an up to minute what the debt is, and it just spins like this, and it keeps on changing. You almost use it as a fan, and it spins so fast on there how the debt is going up every second in our country.
It was like $70,000 a second or something like that.
Yeah, they owe more.
It's like something stupid high like every second.
In 2000, we had a surplus of $236 billion. Last year, we had a deficit of $501 billion. So it's gone from a surplus at one time to a deficit.
Trump's working on that.
Yeah, well, Trump's doing what he can, but he's not known as a stingy financial person. That went up under his.
It's very simple. It's a simple concept.
Yes, don't spend more than you get.
Spending.
Stop handing out weapons to countries like
Yeah.
Israel and Ukraine.
And unfortunately, COVID had a horrible effect on the economy. Yeah.
That's 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it's still there's, you still have money out there that the states haven't used. We got hundreds of millions in dollars in Wisconsin from COVID that we never spent.
Gonna go into somebody's pocket.
The national debt grows $1.44 billion per day.
That's hard to believe.
I know you can't facet that. And this is the sad thing. China has holdings of $859.4 billion in U.S. Treasury. We wonder why we don't really, most presidents don't want to be forceful with China because they own half this country. They own half our debt. They call it our debt. They bankrupt our country. Trump's doing his best with his tariffs and stuff like that, but Japan also owns a big chunk of $640 billion. 90% of our taxable revenue goes to pay interest, not including Social Security. And that's kind of a lie because, they say 90% they say 32 cents of every dollar is spent on debt. That doesn't add up to 19%, does it? That sounds like 32% to me. The hidden debt, federal, state, and local, is estimated at $473,000 per household, and that's gone up since then. $115 trillion is needed for present and future benefits. And that's talking about Social Security and Medicare alone. Medicare needs 32, what is it? 52. Medicare is $52 trillion underfunded. You know, because they're looking at the future. And they say by 2036, both of those will be bankrupt unless the government starts. And there's guys that know how to do that is to raise the age of eligibility. But both parties know it's a political suicide to start attacking Social Security and Medicare. Because if they start cutting there, they don't have a chance of getting elected.
Yep.
Medicare has $52 trillion in underfunded liabilities.
How is that even possible? Like, seriously, how is that even possible?
Well, they're giving it to people that don't deserve it. I remember years ago, it was very hard to qualify for disability.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can find, if you got a hangnail, you go to a doctor and they can sign you up. You probably get disability if you wanted there, brother. My conscience says I can't do that,
You just don't think
but some people don't have that.
that Social Security, Medicare, and our veterans would be the first three things that would get funded first, but I guess I'm weird.
You are weird. Now there's a whole section, you still got the paper you had there's a whole section on there on the Depression, Great Depression, and what caused it, and had that. Do you want to read some of that?
Since the 1790s, records show that every 50 to 60 years, there has been major downturns lasting 3 or more years called depressions. In between, we find shorter downturns lasting a few months to 2 years, which are called recessions. In 1913, Congress passed the Federal Reserve Act,
Which was illegal.
which gave control over interest rates and the size of the national money supply. On May 19th, 1919, representatives of the major international banks met in Paris, France. This group later became known as the Council of Foreign Relations.
Another anti-government thing.
On October 24th, 1929, the complete collapse of the stock market began. About 13 million shares of stock were sold. GM stock went down 150 points, AT&T down 100, and on Tuesday, October 29th, known ever since as Black Tuesday, extended the damage. More than 16 million shares were sold at a loss of $10 billion. The stock market lost $40 billion by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But was this just the cause? Louis McFadden, chairman of the House Banking Committee, stated, "It was not accidental. It was a careful, contrived occurrence. The international bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair here so that they might emerge as rulers of us all. In 1913, Congress had passed the Federal Reserve Act, which had control over interest rates and the size of the national money supply, exclusive right to print money. Between 1923 and 1929, the Federal Reserve inflated the national's money supply by 62%.
We're not seeing that now, are we? They're printing money like it's going out of style.
In the year before the crash, more than 500 banks failed nationwide. 9 months after Herbert Hoover's election, the CFR secretly engineered the Great Crash in 1929. The Exchange Commission in 1934.
And like that one statement said, the Depression was not an accident. It was a carefully planned motive. And that's how, and you said Depression usually happen every 50 years. We are way past the next depression. I remember reading a book by Larry Burkett back in the 1980s, and he was predicting one back then. And I've been looking at a lot of people think, and they've been saying it for every year, in 2026 we're going to see a monster crash of the, and they used the Warren Buffett, you know who Warren Buffett is, and he has a calculation where he figures the value of a company versus its stock. Stock's at over 200% higher than it's worth. So are we setting ourselves up for another great fall? And when you start seeing the people like Warren Buffett, and other ones start pulling their money out of the market, look out. And we are starting to see some of that happening. And one of the things they identified, there's 5 flags they identified. One is the housing market. The housing market is super inflated right now. You know, like our house, we did, well, it wasn't too long ago, we had, the value was 160, 170,000. Now, I don't think I'd sell a house for less than 350,000. It's double in a matter of 6-7 years. And that's nationwide. And there was a YouTuber I was watching, and he was showing the 5 flags. The housing market was one, the stock market overinflated is another, and debt is another. Interest rates, and they can tell when you ever have recession or depression is when at the exact time the Fed started lowering interest rates. And we're starting to see that because it was too late. That's why you see the interest rates in, was it 2008?
That's what caused the housing market to tank.
Yep, right. Yeah, interest rates were up around 5, 6, 7%, and then they started dropping it, and then the housing market tanked, and they dropped it down to 0 to try to save
That's
it.
why the interest rates today will move, is because of that.
And, it's gonna start falling again, and then they're gonna have to drop the rates radically again if they're gonna, and then we're gonna be into a recessionary period or depression if it goes too far. Now, under the Great Depression, a lot of people don't know that a lot of people got very rich. If you have money under a depression or recession, liquid money, like cash or commodities, you can buy things, GM stock went, and I said, well, it was trading at $70, $80 a share, and it went down below $2, and they pulled it off the stock exchange. Now, say you had, $1 million invested in it at $2 a share. I don't know where it is now. It's probably up quite a bit. You're going to make bukus of money during that time, and that's what those people did. People had to sell their properties, sell their cars and whatever else at very low prices, and these guys went and snatched it up.
Sure.
Well, not so much that too, but also when you're talking stock prices, that then everything was worthless back then, so you could pick up stocks for absolutely nothing at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
And then just keep your money in it, and then once the market picked back up, guess what?
Sell it all.
Yeah, but then it's around it's closing in on 40,000 to 35 to 36,000. Is the stock market right now. Most experts say it shouldn't be any more than 12.
But I mean, imagine if you picked up some General Motors stock.
Yeah, at very low amount.
Right around the time of the crash, and if you held on to it until
Yep.
after World War
Yeah.
II was over,
And he bought it $2 a share, and it was $80 a share.
you'd be hundreds of millions
Yeah.
overnight, literally.
And we're seeing it. People's 401ks have gone up dramatically in the last couple of years. But what happens when it goes the other way? There's definitely warnings there. Banking industry. I've also seen bank fail, big banks. In the last couple of years, we've seen them fall. the stock market, what is the ERISA? That's written on there, or ERSA, do I have it on here? I don't think I have it on here.
You know, one thing that's worth mentioning about the banking about that time too is like, you know, you had
There's,
assets in a bank and that bank failed, you lost everything you had in that bank.
yep, yep,
So like
Well, a
overnight,
lot of them, the banks have closed their doors, didn't they?
yeah, they lock their doors, yeah,
People
yeah,
can't get their
and
money.
we have seen that recently too, where banks have gotten in troubles and you couldn't get there to get your money out.
that's when that was it, the protection of the
FDIC.
FDIC, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's where that came from.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, the way the rules are written is just ridiculous. I think it's on there, you know, if you put $20,000 in a bank thinking it's gonna be there, it's not there.
It's not there.
They borrow it out over and over and over again, and you know, they'll take that 20,000 and turn it into $1 million by borrowing it out to different people. And then, so when you go collect your money, because even now, if you withdraw a certain amount, I know some banks is 500, 300.
5,000.
Well, it wasn't over for a while, that's right. You have to give them a notice. And, yeah, you're noticing too, if you get a check from somebody, they hold it.
They hold it.
You know, or they give out, we had one check, the one time they gave it out in increments, right?
Increments, yeah.
You know, well, you know, 3 days you can get 5,000 of it, another 10 days you can get another, you know, it's like,
that's,
it's because they don't have that money on hand anymore.
Yeah.
It's all borrowed out.
that's what happened when I got that lawsuit payment from Spectrum.
Mhm, double
So,
bill.
I got a check in the mail and like, they would only give me like, they allowed me to put like $1,500 out of it in the bank at first, and then the rest of it, they had to wait for like.
They had to hold
the
it.
rest of it would sit, it sat.
And that's crazy under knowledge. All you gotta do is type some numbers and it's not done.
Numbers, yeah.
Physically, it's done digitally, everything's digitally now. So they have money available. Okay, the ERISA is the Employment Retirement Income Security Act. You know, or IRAs and 501s all fall under that. And, you know, I've read, even under Biden, that, you know, he was really intent on grabbing that money and saying, okay, we'll give you IOU on your 401k because there's so much money in those right now. It's kind of tempting for our government to grab it, and it's not just Biden, some other people too. And there's requirements for people that draw. You have to be in 17.5 years. You have to take out a certain. You're required to take out a percentage of it, and as our age group is growing older, we're seeing that. Okay, let me hand out this. Take this, Carmen, again. This is some of the stuff we are discussing. I think I gave one too many of the first page.
How many pages are there?
2.
All right, so I need a second page.
Yeah,
I need a second page.
here.
Okay. You got another one?
Yep, I got several.
Dougie, you want one?
Okay. So IRAs are in trouble. In 1974, the Employee Retirement Security Act was passed that made 401ks possible for every American. Now you're thinking, well, Social Security was bad too. Let's compare what would happen in an investment of $1 million in the S&P index if what happened in 1929 would happen today. So if we had the same instance that happened under the Great Depression today, what would happen? So in 1929, you just retired. You had an ending value of $1 million in your that you were worth. You had cash to live on, $80,000 a year. So in 1930, when the Depression happened, your $1 million just dropped $461,840. So your value was $487,719, and you reduced down to $39,000 to live on. By 1937, as continued on, you would have just $600 less to live on by that year. If the same thing would happen back in 1929 would happen today. So what should we do? What do we do? Well, one thing, we got to trust in God, right? Banks, even though they're federally, covered under a certain amount, there's no guarantee. They've fortunately been able to bail out the ones, a great amount of monies in the last couple failures. But if you have any more bank failures than you have, the money's not going to be there. Collectibles. We're talking cash is one of the few assets that don't go down during inflation. Now they tracked what Warren Buffett has his investments in. He has exactly 50% of his investments in cash and 50% in like stock market and stuff like that. So he's covered both ways. He's a billionaire anyways, but because you realize that the stock market crash, if you have cash, you're king. You can pretty much do whatever you want. So cash is king. Bonds, that's investment in the government. Again, if government falls, are issued by a borrower who cannot pay to go to zero in a depression. Real estate, now, I was once told that real estate never loses money. That's a lie. There have been several instances where you had investment in real estate and you lost your shirt. The depression was one of them. You got a $100,000 home, all of a sudden it's worth $10, because it's nobody wants it, or nobody else can afford it, basically. So that's not always true. Precious metals, gold, silver. Does anybody know that one time it was illegal to own gold? The FDR, 1933, right at the near the end of the Depression. Where's my big copy? There's my big copy. 1933, 1974, Ford is the one who took it off. It was illegal to possess gold. And if you were caught with it, you could be put in jail. So they took it pretty serious. And that's when the dollar was taken off the gold standard. Up to that period of time, the dollar was always backed by something. The dollar is backed by nothing now. It's just merely a promissory note. And the only value it has is what people value it as. And we're seeing by inflation how it's affecting that area of that. So healthcare is another big thing. We just talked a little bit about that. From 2013 to 2019, the cost of healthcare rose 129%. So much for affordable healthcare. In next year, if they don't step in there and do something with the subsidies, there's going to be a 26% rise in premiums.
People just won't have it. They just won't pay it.
You can't afford it. You have a choice between the prescriptions and food and housing. It makes it a very difficult thing. So in real estate, in the Great Depression, many property values collapsed, some as much as 90%. So banks between 1929 and 1933, 9,000 banks closed their doors, and we're seeing that today. And some of the conditions which pose danger now is low liquidity levels, dangerous exposure to leverage derivatives or futures, optimistic safety rations of debt investment, and inflated values of the property that borrowers have put up for collateral for loans. You remember you talked about the mortgage, the housing crash, and they were giving mortgages to anybody. They couldn't afford them. And then when it came to a time where they had to pay up, they started getting delinquent on it and had devaluated the real estate market. Precious metals. How about the stock market? Since the 1790s, records show every 50, 60 years we have major downturns in the economy lasting 3 or more years. And we are vastly over that time period. Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929. Again, you talked about that. What happened in 1929, what happened today, and we kind of just discussed that about the devaluation of your retirement.
Yeah.
How much it would go down? Just $600 or less to live on per year. And one of the things with collectibles, with commodities and stuff like that, turn to Revelations, someone find the Revelation, you got your app, Revelations 13.
Revelations 13:1.
15, I think starts at verse. Yeah, start at 15.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast,
Mm-hmm.
that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both great and small, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or their foreheads, and that no man may buy or sell, save he had that he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man, and his number is 666.
Now, you're talking about a cashless system, and we are moving very fast toward that. Most of your Gen Z people, they don't use cash anymore. Us older people, I still like using cash for products and stuff like that. But there's going to be a time where cash is going to be illegal to own. And what does that do? You can't work for cash anymore.
No, you can't give
Huh?
anything to anybody either.
Yeah, well, it'll be worthless. We'll take it off.
No, I'm saying if once it's, how we give cash to our family members,
Mhm.
well, there'll be nothing to give. 'Cause
Yeah.
we can't give our digital stuff away.
You might be able to get away with bartering under that, but even your precious, gold and silver, I'm sure they'll try to confiscate that again.
Mhm.
Most of your precious metals. We just seen the penny taken off the market,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how fast you go to places and they don't have pennies anymore. They just stopped making them last week.
I know, they've already implemented.
Well, when they said there was no change, they didn't have any change either anymore.
Yeah, that's becoming less.
We don't have no coins.
Yeah.
What?
And we're going to see that more and more as this system. It says, despite the growth of digital payments, cash accounted for 14% of consumer payments in 2024. But as far as young people who uses cash nowadays, older adults and those in certain demographics. Adults over 50 are much more likely to keep cash on hand than those under 50. And I've gone to places, well, a lot of places you don't even take cash anymore.
Mm-mm.
You go to a sporting event, they don't take cash. It's all card, debit, and pay your bills, debit, or you use your card and stuff like that. So, the cashless society, on the outside, I always said, that sounds like a great idea. I I don't have to carry my wallet anymore. I don't have to carry cash anymore. All you do is, and when it talks about the cashless sign, it talks about the mark of the beast, a chip that's maybe, it's either some kind of chip or marking that'll be in the forehead or hand. And they're using it already in some places that you can open doors, pay your bills and stuff for it. You don't have to worry about a wallet, purse anymore, ladies, except for your makeup. So
They wanna make it look good.
we are closing in on that, and I think, probably the next market crash will really push that into effect. Is 2026 going to be the year of the crash? I can't say. There's things been pointing there, but there's things pointing that way for years. So, so get out of debt is probably the biggest thing we can do. Any other thoughts?
What if somebody decides, hey, he doesn't need to buy gas this week, so let's make it so his car won't open any gas station?
Well, they can do that now with technology, right?
Yeah.
They could shut your vehicle off.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to implement that, they were trying to push that in Wisconsin, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the laws are there somewhat to protect us, but
There's all,
it doesn't take much to change the law. And they don't follow laws anyway, some of them.
Yep. They
Yeah.
do what they want.
They do what they want, so. Next week, no Bible study because it's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, so. We'll start with something afterwards. Any more comments or questions? We can dive into this. I was looking at some graphs and it's just amazing where they show the revenue our government's taking in versus what's paying out. How it's getting, revenue's getting down here, and payouts are going up and up and up and up. You gotta wonder when it's gonna be the stopping point where it can't sustain itself.
I just wish I could be in the room when they sit there and say, oh, we don't have enough money to fund this for, whoever. I just wanna be able to say, but you got money to send all these tanks and bullets and stuff.
Yeah, to other countries. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's being wasted half the time. How much weaponry did we leave behind in Afghanistan? Was it 80 million or something? Wasn't that value that just left it?
83 billion.
83 billion. Yeah, just left it.
Left it, gave it to him.
I wasn't exactly heartbroken when I heard Dick Cheney passed away.
No, I wasn't a Cheney fan either.
Oh, I didn't know he passed away, did he die?
Yes, that's
Really?
the funeral was today.
Oh, really? Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't very good.
Hope we're not being taped.
Huh?
Hope we're not being recorded.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all right, everybody knows who Dick Cheney is and knows about him.
Bushes and
Yeah.
they're not the friend of, is anybody a friend of America? Trump's doing what he can, but now you got every judge in
It's a
the
judge.
nation step up. I posted that picture where, every year they pardon the turkey. And,
Yeah.
he said Trump pardoned the turkey, but the Illinois judge overturned that immediately.
Ah! That's
Trump
funny.
needs to distance himself.
Because anything he does, they,
Yeah, anything he does, they
Yeah.
wanna attack him. Yeah,
Yeah.
poor guy.
Just needs to stay away from Lindsey Graham.
oh yeah, I like Lindsey Graham either.
He really changed, didn't he?
Lindsey
Yeah, he's
Graham's
always
such
been
a
that way, but
warmonger.
he's just, he's a globalist, just like the Bushes were globalists.
Yeah, but I
They
used to
don't,
like
they don't
Lindsey
really
Graham.
look at America as,
He's a Bush crony.
Yeah,
If Lindsey Graham had his way, we would have people on the ground in Ukraine and we would be at
Yep.
war with Russia
Yeah.
right now.
yes, we would, yeah, I'm not a fan of Graham either.
yeah.
I used to be, I used to thought it was okay, cause he gets up there and grandstands and says this and says that. In the background, he's just the opposite.
The other one
He's
is,
undercutting you and,
Huh.
look how, I'm gonna be so tough, I ain't letting any judges, radical judges under Biden get through.
he rubber stamped every single one of them.
Did
The other one that
he?
really let me down was, Dan Crenshaw. Oh my God.
Yeah, that too, yeah, you would thought with him being a patriot with the.
He's a former
He's a-
SEAL.
Yeah,
Yeah, what is he not?
He's a
Oh,
pro
he's-
list like the.
he doesn't like Trump either, so.
How can he not like Trump?
He's
being
a warmonger, he
they're-
wants to
'cause
go
they-
above everybody.
Trump he wants America to succeed.
Yeah,
These people want other countries to get as high as us or higher than us.
why? That makes,
Because that's what they look at the world,
that makes zero sense.
I don't, no, there's a whole group of Republicans like that, so,
Oh,
you know, so I don't put my faith in the Republican Party too much anymore.
There's hope, there is hope, there's three Republicans that I'm really fond of right now, and that's, Massey.
Yeah.
Rand Paul, I've always been a big.
Oh, I-
Rand Paul's always been a fiscal,
Yeah,
And,
Love Ron
Marjorie
Johnson.
Taylor.
Johnson I like too, somewhat.
Ron Johnson's good.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Reid too.
Yeah, and then look how they've been bashing her lately.
That means
Because
because
she's not, she's America first, she's not Israel first.
Right,
That's why Trump's going after her. Trump's, you know, I hate to say it, but he's, you know, Netanyahu's his boss, sorry.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
agree supporting Israel, but yeah, they've gone to extremes, right?
They went after her because she's not Israel first, she's America
Yeah.
first.
You know,
she's a little spitfire.
wasn't Charlie Kirk, he was starting to go against Israel too.
That's the theory, there's a lot of,
That's why they think he got killed.
there's a lot of,
Really?
there's a lot of conspiracies floating around about that. He was about to speak out and not support Israel because he didn't like what they were doing, and
Yeah, because Candace Owens is against it too.
she's getting sued.
Don't, yeah, as far as they're.
They all get sued. Alright.
Charlie Kirk's widow was suing her for like $90 million for defamation.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of-
Candace Owens?
Yeah.
Who is? Wow,
Candace Owens.
I thought she was a good one.
Well, she kind of gone
Because she's,
at the,
Candace Owens went on her podcast or whatever and started preaching about a possible affair between J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk because of the way they hugged on stage.
Oh,
yeah, and that I don't know, I don't.
no way. He's married with kids and they were good friends and whatever.
They were colleagues, weren't they? Like, they kind of worked together at the.
They were just
Well, they're
good
friends,
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, politics is dirty.
It's just nasty.